Just as we thought that the Cold War going on in the golfing world was getting a little too cold, Greg Norman stepped up and gave us the spice that's essential to any beef. Today, we'll break down the latest back and forth of fiery statements. We're talking insults, accusations, and of course, some Twitter drama. This time, the showdown involved Norman, because of course it did, and analyst Brandel Chambly. Sit back and relax. First off, Norman ain't holding it back anymore. Okay, we know he never really held back to begin with, but hear us out. Most of the war of words, at least among the big guys, not the players, took place before the LIV had started, like Norman, who called Nicklaus a hypocrite, and like the PGA party, who accused LIVers of accepting blood money. Though ever since the Saudi-backed league has become a reality, most of the stuff's legal, respectable, almost. But Greg said, not on my watch. Recently, he lashed out at Brandel Chambly, who's a former golfer himself, but he's known better for his commentary and golf analysis, and surprise, surprise, Chambly's a harsh critic of the LIV golf. And so, Norman, who said he's fed up with all the spitefulness, decided to add just a little more to it by calling Chambly a paid-talking bobblehead. Yes, you know things are serious when someone accuses you not only of having a head that bobbles, but also being a sellout that bobbles the said head only to say what his masters have paid him to say, which in this case are obviously those at the PGA Tour. Chambly has always based his criticisms of the LIV golf on the fact that their financing comes from the Saudi government. Why so? Because, well, the Saudi government doesn't have a good reputation when it comes to human rights. Activists believe that this golf circuit's just another addition to the Saudi sports washing campaign meant to distract people from the controversies that surround them. Brandel agrees with all of this and has been voicing these opinions. Before we get into Norman's defense of his league in this regard, let's first see what his critic had to say in return. So what have you got, Brandel? Chambly, the alleged bobblehead, wasn't just going to let the Sharks slander him like that, so he went ahead and exposed Norman on Twitter by posting a screenshot of their conversation a little before the whole LIV frenzy had started. The only text message you could see in the picture was of Greg's, and guess what? Turns out the LIV Golf CEO's views about him have only recently changed. In the message, he had appreciated Brandel for being himself and for saying things as they are, calling it refreshing. As Shakespeare once said, those screenshots shall always cometh back to biteth thee in thy booty. Obviously, Mr. Chambly took this opportunity to call out his hypocrisy, and he made a good point, saying that now that he's speaking out his honest thoughts about the Saudi-backed venture, Norman's suddenly criticizing what he previously thought was so refreshing. Remember, this is only the first his nemesis has responded, and not the first time Brandel has fired shots at the LIV. In the past, he stated that he wants Phil Mickelson to be removed from the World Golf Hall of Fame and said that all the players who signed for the Saudi-backed league made him feel like he wanted to puke. He also thought that the day of LIV's inaugural was the saddest day in golf history. Yeah, he's quite literally been crying, shaking, and throwing up, apparently. Now, what does Norman really have to say? First of all, Norman has shifted the entire blame of this historic golfinental drift of our age onto Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour. He says he was always open to the idea of a merger between the two circuits, but the PGA never responded to it and instead chose to go to war. His opinions are shaped by his past experiences with them in the 90s. Yes, this beef's been grilling for so long, it's resurrected and grown into a live cow. Norman had his ideas and a sort of revolution, but he was shut down and nothing changed. Now, of course, things are different. He has a whole crown prince on his side. Still, he said he expected resistance from Monahan, calling him a monopolist. According to him, all the backlash is truly just to eliminate competition so that PGA can be the only one in the game. In fact, he believes the tour would fight back whether or not Saudi money was involved. Sure, sir, but that still doesn't answer what makes the Saudi money all right to take, does it? To this, he also has a comeback. He said that the players who slandered the LIV signees should be ashamed of themselves because while they criticize the source of their income, they too have multiple sponsors who do more than $40 billion worth of business with Saudi Arabia. Now, if you see the Twitter discourse on this matter, you'll see an interesting point is often brought up. For example, someone on the site responded to Chambly's tweet by bringing up the fact that the PGA itself is quite involved with China, and while China isn't known to be very human rights sensitive, is it? He also thinks some people changed their opinions when they saw all the opposition when before they were welcoming to the idea of the Rebel League. So far, Norman says he's satisfied with the success of the LIV golf and can see that the fans enjoy it, and he's proud of that, and he thinks his critics like Chambly are only making themselves look like jerks. Also, what have the LIV players had to face? The word wars will go on between the people at the top, but let's not forget that the foot soldiers here are the golfers. So let's take a look at what they've had to deal with so far. The golf world has made its stance very clear when it comes to the Saudi-backed, Norman-led Rebel League. This is was obvious because even the most high-profile players couldn't escape the consequences. For example, some serious roasting from their former fellow players, disappointment from fans, and backlash from critics. Here's the first thing the PGA Tour did. They banned all the players who were participating in the LIV League's inaugural event held in London in June. On the day of the event, Jay Monahan released a lengthy letter stating that these players won't be allowed to participate in the PGA Tour or any PGA-affiliated tours. These also included the Barbasol Championship and Barracuda Championship in July. The most well-known names at this time were Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, and Brian DeChambeau. This was followed by all the sponsors pulling away their contracts from these players. And now the DP Tour has also banned the LIVers from their events as well. The famous DP players who will be affected include Lee Westwood, Ian Poulter, Sergio Garcia, and Martin Kamer. But it definitely isn't over because currently the U.S. Department of Justice is actually investigating the PGA Tour for anti-competitive behavior. Also, experts say that one of the reasons Norman's Rebel League is collecting all these influential names is to corner the tour and pressurize them to lift the bans. Still, these golfers seem to be confident about their decision, and if they're not, they're probably wiping their tears away with cold hard cash and drinking the pain away in luxury private jets. So who's winning in the end? That's the great paradox of our time. Leave your answers about this down below. Now that you're all caught up, let's move on to some other news from the golfing world. First of all, say goodbye to Stenson. The 46-year-old Swede Heinrich Stenson's departure from the DP Tour and signing into the LIV Golf has finally been confirmed after months of speculation. Well, almost confirmed. We know this through the sudden announcement that he was no longer to be the European captain in the 2023 Ryder Cup. That statement said it was because of some decisions that Stenson has recently made which don't align with his contract to the Ryder Cup. We can expect an official announcement from Stenson anytime now. There you go, another European captain to join the LIV's ranks. Secondly, maybe say goodbye to Smith too. Cameron Smith, the Aussie who just won the Open Championship in an impressive final, might also be on his way to Greg Norman's troops. His main was also amongst the most speculated, but the real bombshell dropped after his Open win in the press conference. A reporter asked him about LIV and Smith got annoyed. What's more is that he didn't deny the rumors at all. He just brushed off the question in an awkward way. Norman's caption on Instagram was also sus and alluded to Smith being on his side. So, if you have not said your goodbyes yet, you should at least prepare for it because most people think it's just a matter of time before it's confirmed. And Trump has golf advice. The former U.S. President, Donald Trump, also gave his 2 cents about the LIV golf situation on the social media platform Trust Social. He should have said it on Twitter, by the way. Well, to each their own. Anyway, he also thinks that the players should take all the money and sign for the LIV Golf, and that those who've already signed were smart to do so. Also, the next LIV event will be held on his golf course in New Jersey. That's a wrap for this video. See you in the next one.